So Downtown Dallas Inc. is a private nonprofit organization. We were started 60 years ago to be the business voice for downtown. And as time has evolved, we created a public improvement district. And through that PID, we provide services related to clean, safe, capital improvements, maintenance, beautification, really anything that affects the experience that someone has as they walk down the street downtown, our organization manages. Alongside that, through our membership funds, we're able to get very involved in public policy, economic development, marketing, and urban planning so that we are really the stewards of where downtown is headed. So in the 50s, when our organization was started, downtown was bustling. You had Theater Row on Elm Street, downtown streets were filled with retail, downtown Dallas was the place to go. Then you fast forward to the 1980s, and like many cities in America, we experienced a tremendous amount of suburban flight. And downtown became a pretty unfriendly place. So then the late 90s roll around, and you have the public and the private sector both really wake up and realize that reinvestment in our downtown had to happen in order for the entire city to thrive. So tax increment finance districts were created, the property owners got together, and we reinvested in our downtown. And what that's resulted in is the environment that you see today. 12,000 residents and growing, 135,000 employees, parks, bike lanes, people out and about. It is an entirely new environment than what it was just 20 years ago. So it's a really exciting time to be in downtown Dallas. Well, the development community preserved the buildings with incentives from the city. So the tax increment finance districts were created to help bridge the gap. They created the but-for dollars. But for these public dollars, these projects were too difficult for a developer to make happen. So the TIFs covered things like infrastructure costs, historic preservation, those kind of things. One of the key moments in our revitalization, in my opinion, is the creation of 2 tax increment finance districts for downtown. The tax increment finance districts occurred at the same time that we were also seeing national trends of reurbanization. So there was a natural market demand for a lot of what was happening in the downtown. The importance of the private sector also coming together under one common vision all culminated in this very special moment in time in the late 90s and early 2000s. And all of a sudden you started to see cranes and you started to see people moving downtown. Downtown Dallas did not have a residential population, even in our heydays in the 50s, until we started these adaptive reuse projects and giving places for people to live in the downtown. So with all of that momentum, as our streets started to become alive again, then we started to see companies get interested. Comerica Bank moved their headquarters to downtown Dallas. AT&T moved their headquarters to downtown Dallas. And that momentum has continued since, as we are one of the top performing submarkets in the region when it comes to commercial office recruitment. So downtown has certainly come a long way from where we were in the 80s with boarded up storefronts and streets that had tumbleweeds rolling down them. So the great thing about our organization and how we function is that we have a very wide purview. We work with the City of Dallas on public policy that's in the best interest of downtown, on ordinances. We've helped get signage on the side of office buildings when city ordinances wouldn't allow it. We help small businesses to get their permits that they need for outdoor cafes. We've also worked as a liaison between the public and the private sector in a lot of ways. So when a developer interest comes into the downtown and they want to know how to work with City Hall, we're able to help to do that and make those connections. So there are a lot of ways that we're working within processes of the public sector, but on behalf of the private sector. And then you layer onto that the fact that we are on the ground. We are out there with our 50 safety patrol officers and our 20 clean team members, making sure that our streets are clean and safe and beautiful and fun. So that's one of the great things about our organization, is really anything and everything that has to do with downtown touches us in one way or another, and usually sooner rather than later. So downtown has seen a tremendous amount of change. We talked about the 80s decline, reinvestment in the 90s, and where we've come today. There were 200 residents in downtown Dallas in 1996. Now we have 12,000, and that number is still growing. Our commercial office population continues to grow. We're attracting companies, we're attracting life. I think one of the really unique ways that we're able to do that, and a role that our organization plays, has to do with just the spirit of collaboration in Dallas. I'll take our parks for example. So in 2005, there was a Parks Master Plan created for downtown, and that called for 4 major parks within the area. We helped work with the foundation that funded the majority of those parks. We also were able to assist that foundation get bond money from the city of Dallas. And since then, we've seen those parks fully come to fruition. Now we've gone through another park planning process in the same way. So it's the collective between a private foundation and the public dollars, and Downtown Dallas Inc. serving as the liaison between the two and working with the neighborhood stakeholders on the design of the parks, bringing all of those elements together to ensure these projects, again, are developed in the best interest of downtown. So Clyde Warren Park is a 5.2 acre park that was built over Woodall Rogers Freeway. It was really one of the country's first projects to show how you could mitigate freeway impact that split 2 neighborhoods. So in Dallas, that means our Arts District and our Uptown District, all within our city center, had suffered from separation from a freeway for decades. Clyde Warren Park was a vision of so many organizations, but the leading organization behind it was the Woodall Rogers Park Foundation. Downtown Dallas Inc. worked closely with that organization as well as the city of Dallas to create the plan for the park, led by a phenomenal group of private stakeholders who really put their money and put their time where their mouth and where their dreams were, and were able to secure federal funds, local funds, as well as tap into the philanthropic community to make that project happen. No one knew that we were building a park out of thin air, and that project has again become one of the most well-known in the country of its kind. Now you see over 1 million visitors to that space every year, and it has mended together our neighborhoods and brought all of Dallas out in a very, very unique and special way. So the 360 plan was downtown's first comprehensive plan. So the plan looks at our long-term plans for housing, mobility, parks and green space, and urban design. So all of the aspects of urban management are a part of this plan. The plan casts a vision as well as creates the action items that are necessary to ensure that this is not yet another plan that sits on a shelf. So each of those action items is broken down into who's responsible. Is it private sector? Is it public sector? Is it our organization? Is it the transit agency? And we give it a timeline and we give it an order of magnitude cost. So much of what we've worked toward is really based on 3 things. Planning, having a coordinated plan that the public sector and the private sector have as a common vision for how we move forward. Collaboration, ensuring that we're all working toward each action item in the plan. And that 3rd item is the action, the importance of each and everything that we all do every day, working toward a common goal and making a significant difference that everyone can see and feel in downtown.